Hi everybody, David Dilling from Markzware. Today's quick tip is how to downsave Adobe InDesign files. Well, in effect, how do you open and work with InDesign files in different versions? Can I open a CS3 InDesign file in CS6? Can I open a CS5 file in CS3? These are all questions we get pretty much daily here at Markzware. We deal with customers using, believe it or not, even as low as InDesign CS2 still, right on up, of course, to many using InDesign CS6. Here we have a suite of InDesign files and a PDF made from a CS3 file we'll get to in a moment. These were all created natively within I should probably switch these around, within CS6 here, which I have on this machine, CS5, which I have on another machine, and CS3, which I have yet on another machine. So on this modern machine we have only CS6, so the file appears to be a modern file when in fact it is an older version. Well, can we just take the word of the file name that it's CS3 or CS6, because opening a CS3 file in CS6 can also cause unwanted shifting, particularly if custom plugins were used or an extension was used in Quark. This was converted with Markzware's Q to ID into InDesign CS3 at the time, and now they want to bring it to CS6. You have to be careful for reflow and the correct fonts used and all of that. So what we use then to see which version these files really are, because we have to be really sure, and usually it doesn't say which version it is in the file name. This I added myself. It just has .indd. And what we use is we'll just drop this file right on the flight check, and you'll notice here I have flight check strategically in my dock right in between InDesign and Quark Express 9 and InDesign CS6. Kind of do that on purpose. Alright, so flight check is real easy. It's a way to quickly see real basic information to real detailed pre-flight information, and I can also package files. In this case, we just want to see which version of... You see flight check loading the fonts database, and back in flight check we'll see the results, and most importantly what we see is version 5.03. The modern version is version 7. So this tells us this is a CS3 file. It tells us our application loader on this machine is CS6. So we see right away that this is indeed a CS3 file. And we see there's other potential issues. The fonts are missing on this machine, and so is the image, which I created on an older machine. So that's how flight check can be used to not only pre-flight and check for missing fonts, missing images, and to collect files, but also to just see which version it is. So now we can drop, that was version 5, we can drop a modern CS6 file on flight check. We get a couple pre-flight warnings, and we see here the version is 8.0. So CS6 is actually the version 8.0, and CS3 is actually 5. Whatever that was now. So you see how confusing it can be just in the technicalities of the versioning. Now that's what happens when you have software around for years and years. Desktop publishing has been around for 27, 28 years now, and we have a nice post on that on our webpage with a historical timeline. All this introduced the first layout application way back when, I think it was 1985 offhand, and here we are today in 2012. So PageMaker, InDesign, Quark, they've all been around, particularly Quark of course, and then InDesign later as the de facto standards in publishing. So with all these various forms of file formats floating around, just not even talking about Quark and PageMaker and Freehand and Illustrator and all the others, just InDesign alone, we have a huge number of files that date back to CS3 or even CS2 or even maybe some odd CS1 files, which is called InDesign. However, how can we downsave a CS6 file to work in CS3? Because we're going to show you in a moment on the old machine how that works, or how that doesn't work, quote unquote, out of the box. So what's interesting is you can, and let's now pop open InDesign, you can take a CS3 file, drop it on InDesign, open up InDesign CS6 here on my modern MacBook Pro. And you can open, as you see here, a CS3 file. We just showed was actually a version 5 InDesign file in InDesign CS6, or version 8 file you can now save this as. So I can upsave very easily. But how do I downsave? Well, let's go over to the other machine first and see if we can open this CS6 file over here and open that in CS3. Should be just as easy, right? We can open CS3 and CS6. Why can't we open CS6 and CS3? So let's go check that out. Okay, so here we are on another machine with InDesign CS3. I have CS5 here as well, but just to show you in CS3 natively itself, if we try to open up a CS6 file, here's the message you will get. Missing plugins. Conditional text.InDesign plugin, shared content.InDesign plugin, world-ready.InDesign plugin. These are all plugins used in the most current version of InDesign. They're required to open this CS6 file. We don't have those plugins for CS3. They're just not available. Conveniently, Adobe does not provide those. Now, it's quite obvious Adobe doesn't want people to interchange higher documents with lower versions, because otherwise the update or the upgrade process would perhaps be slowed. Fair enough on one hand. On the other hand, yeah, people need to use and work in workflows with various file format versions, from CS6 to CS2 potentially. And why not? It's your content. It's content that you or your customers want to use. It should be democratized, and that's what Markzware is all about, is democratizing content. So we'll help you, and we'll show you in a moment how we can help you with a service to downsave these files. But also we have many tools to help you convert files. Now, another note, I get a lot of people coming in with this message, sending in to us bad files. I think the file is corrupt, and they're trying to use our bad file recovery service, which is a wonderful service to fix bad files. It works, 70-80% of the time, maybe more like 75% of the time, and you get back a file when you had an error code. Look, if you get an error code 5, or your InDesign is crashing all the time, when you open a particular document only, error code 4, error code 3, these sort of things are really bad files. There's nothing you can do to magically fix that, apart from potentially using our system. There are some troubleshooting techniques, and we showed them in another video. But a lot of people get this message here, missing plugins message, and think, well, my file's corrupt, can you fix it? In reality, all you need to do is downsave it, and that you can do with our service or yourself or with somebody who has various versions of Adobe InDesign. Alright, so that's what happens when you try to open CS6 and CS3. What happens if we... And then you get this cannot open file message with a whole bunch of things that just aren't available in CS3. CS5, let's try to open CS5 and CS3. Similar message. Only 2 plugins missing, conditional text and world ready, but we cannot open it. And a host of other cannot open file error messages. So we can't open any of these, and even CS4 will not open in CS3 natively. You need to make an IDML. Right, so we just saw that we cannot take a CS3 file and open it. Sorry, we just cannot take a CS6 file and open it right up in CS3. We have to take a couple steps. And those steps start here by opening a file. Let's take this CS6 file. Natively, you just saw that. You would figure it could, but you can't. What you need to do is go up top in InDesign and do something with your file, and then do a export So File, Export, and then you choose here. You have your PDF print and JPEG, whatever you might want to export as. But now you want to choose IDML. You export that IDML. And now let's go check that out. Now you get this IDML file here for the CS6 file. So you think that would just open right up in CS3. Well, it's not that easy either. We need to go to our friend or friends, CS5 or CS5.5 in the middle and talk to them. And then talk to, let's not forget, CS4 over here. And then we can talk and finally get this into CS3. So let's show you a little bit how that works. Well, will the IDML open in CS3? Let's go down and drop it on CS3. No. Cannot open the file InDesign CS6 test.idml, the InDesign, the Exchange format that they have. Adobe InDesign may not support the file format a plugin that supports missing. Similar message, different, prettier screen or interface. So what we need to do to open that CS6 file, which is now effectively downsaved as a .idml, which will open in CS5. And let me show you that here real quick. Let's launch Adobe InDesign CS5 and see if that helps us get this CS6 file into CS3. Okay, so here's CS5. We also have a Markzware menu item up there. Not needed in this case, but there's our products, just to show those off, of course. Right, so now let's go down here. It's still starting up. Yeah, the older the machine, the slower the software. Or is it the older the software, the slower the machine? I don't know. In any event, probably a combination of both. Let's go down here now and take that IDML file on CS5. So CS6 exported as .idml, and it's going right to CS5, or right down to CS5. Will it open? I hear a lot of churning of my RAM. Look at that. That's a better sign. Well, yeah, we get some preliminary pre-flight information here. But there we have the file. I just need to have the fonts, which I do have the fonts, just need to get the image. But now we can open up this file. If we had the image, it would show up, and that's pretty cool. So CS6, I can skip over CS5.5 and go right to CS5 by exporting in CS6 via file export, which is similar in CS5 to .idml. So CS6.idml. And we can do the same in CS5. We can export as a .idml. So now we're going to do an untitled, lossless file name, and we're going to export that and see if that helps us get into CS3. From CS6 now to CS5. So you would think if you can skip over CS5.5, you should be able to, from CS6 to CS5, skipping 5.5, you should be able to go from CS5, skipping CS4 right to CS3, right? Well, the tension's mounting here. Let's now get out of CS5. Let's first get that .idml file here and put it in here. Alright, so there it is. There's the .idml file. Now we're going to drag and drop that onto CS3. Well, look at that. Cannot be opened. So how do we get a CS6 file, now exported out of CS5 as a .idml? How do we get a .idml file opened in CS3? Well, you need CS4. There you'd open the file, do a file export, but there you export as a .inx. And the .inx will then open in CS3. So the law of every other version being able to downsave doesn't work. It needs the lower you go, the more specific the downsaving is. And the .idml switches in CS4 to .inx, an interchange format, slightly different. So that is, in a nutshell, how it works. how you can get CS6 into CS3, you need 2 or more versions of InDesign. Now, we also have Markzware's conversion tools, which can actually help in this aim. How? I'll show you. Alright, so we're going to save out this file also. We also, apart from exporting it, save as, because I'm going to show you another technique. CS5 file. And we save that out like this. Okay, now we're over here in Quark Express 8. And in Quark Express 8, this is our little shortcut. Instead of using, if you don't have CS4, but you have Quark 8 or even Quark 7 with ID to Q from Markzware, you can go Convert InDesign Document. Then you can select the document. We just saved to our desktop. We want to open that CS6 file that was exported as IDML, open in CS5, saved out again, and now we can open it in Quark 8. Do a full conversion with all stylization, positioning, everything included. In this case, it's a small file, not a big deal. And what you see is we get the file now in Quark. Now, very handy if you're in Quark, but our goal here is CS3. Converts. And now we do a file, and not just a normal save as, but an export layout as project, and then we can downsave the Quark file. Yeah, I know. Even further, down to version 7. Save that out to the desktop. We can also use our tool under Markzware, Mark's Tools for Quark 8, which will allow you to downsave to version 4 or even version 6. So I'll show you how that works real quick. If we downsave to version 4, then we're sure that will open up .qxd in CS3 with our other tools. Alright, so there we have it. Let's get out of Quark. Let's get into CS3. And we're back into CS3 here, and what you see, just to let you see CS3, we can now go Markzware, Q to ID, convert Quark Express document, and we can choose between that exported file. We can choose between the file from Mark's Tools we downsaved or the file we exported here. We hit open, and there you have it. Now we have that file that started in CS6, now in CS3. Now, of course, we should have added that image back in way long ago. But you see here how, yeah, what a process that is actually. So you can lose a lot along the way, so you can better have everything updated. But you can open a CS6 file in CS3. You just need to export IDML along the way, and then at a certain point in CS4 to export .inx, and then you can open in CS3. Or you can use that in combination with some Markzware tools and get it open as well. Now what I want to also show you is, let's suppose we don't have any of this. No .indd, no .idml. We have nothing left but only this, a PDF. And it doesn't really matter what type of PDF it is actually. In this case, we know it was created from that CS3 file. And PDF is great for viewing and getting a quick idea of what's in the file for information's sake. But for reusing, for repurposing, a PDF is it's not as bad as having nothing. You at least have a visual what you want to recreate or redesign. However, you can't just open this up in InDesign. You can place it, but you can't open it as a native layered file. And particularly if we're talking about a multiple page file, that's a real issue. And that's why Markzware, as we showed you earlier with the in the CS6 document here over Michael Jan, and I'll put a link to the other video where he's had some great comments, along with many others as well, by the way. There's a lot of praise coming for this new product from Markzware, PDF to DTP. And how that works, we'll close this InDesign file. up top in InDesign CS6, CS5, or CS5.5, you can choose Markzware's PDF DTB and convert PDF. Now if we go in onto the desktop there and choose that PDF file, what will happen is it'll convert over. Look at that. Now we have not just a visual like we have in Preview on the Mac or Acrobat on the PC. What we have now is an actual file with, and I don't have the font here, so I need to use a little bit bigger, with stylization, colors, size, and all the images. In this case, a very simple document. But you see, it's exactly more or less like it was in the original file and in the PDF. So this is a great tool, Markzware's PDF DTP, to also play into this picture, because sometimes you don't only need the downsave from CS6 to CS3 or from CS5 to CS4 or from whatever it might be. Sometimes you don't have anything left but a PDF. What do you do then? Search around for your native file, but if you can't find it, Markzware's PDF DTP is a great alternative to allowing you to edit PDFs in InDesign, or to open that PDF and create it back into a layout that you can use in your familiar desktop publishing environment. Alrighty, this has been David Dilling from Markzware on how you can downsave and use Adobe InDesign content in various ways, shapes, and forms. You don't always need to have the latest version, because Markzware also has a file conversion service. Now the problem is not everybody has all these versions of InDesign. CS6, CS5, CS4, CS3, CS2, whatever it might be. We at Markzware here, we do. So we'll offer you a service to downsave your InDesign files for you. Of course, you can always check with colleagues, see if they have older versions of InDesign. They can take a file and export a .inx for you, or export a .idml from a certain higher version so you can open in a lower version. That is basically all you have to do in most cases. Sometimes some advanced downsaving needs to be done. A lot of times we're using Cork in the middle to help facilitate this need of getting older files in the newer versions, or newer versions, more frequently the case, newer versions into older versions. So the advice is, if at all possible, of course, is to get on the latest version, but that often requires being on the latest Macintosh or Windows operating system. It means a new machine. And in these rougher economic times, sometimes that's not always possible. We understand that, and that's why we have this affordable downsaving file conversion service, $19, 19 euros per file, and we will downsave it for you, as long as it's under 25 megabyte. Love our little Markzware Santa Claus hat on the logo there. Good job. Right, so this has been David Dilling from Markzware on how to downsave InDesign files, how to use multiple versions of InDesign file formats within your workflow. I hope this has been helpful. We're always here. Please feel free to always contact us if you need more information. We're here to help you. Just click on Contact Markzware and you'll get all of our details, a form, and all the details in Europe and in the USA. So we're pretty much 24 hours a day available, more or less. And when it comes to fixing bad files or doing conversions, we even will sometimes generally do that on the weekend as well, because we know your time is valuable. Once again, David Dilling from Markzware wishing you a fantastic day. Check out our other conversion tools, PDF to InDesign, or PageZephyr for searching and indexing your desktop publishing formats, and of course our popular Pub to ID or Q to ID for Cork to InDesign, and even ID to Q, InDesign to Cork, also doing quite well. There are still many Cork users out there. Have a fantastic day and a happy holiday season.